This episode of Idle Thumbs is brought to you by Squarespace, the best, most user-friendly, comprehensive, professional, intuitive place to make your very own website, portfolio, blog, or online store. And if you go to squarespace.com and use the offer code THUMBS, you can get 10% off your first purchase. That's squarespace.com with the offer code THUMBS.
Oh no.
This episode of Idle Thumbs is also brought to you by Terminus, a conference and festival for filmmaking and gaming in Atlanta, Georgia, from June 22nd to 25th. If you go to terminusevent.com and use the code IDLETHUMBS, all one word, you can get 25% off an all-access badge. Nick, you sound excited and full of vim and vigor.
I can't wait.
Aren't you excited to talk about video games?
I love them.
I know you love them. But do you love casting pods about them?
Yeah, even more.
You've convinced me.
Okay.
I'm convinced.
So now we can do the podcast?
Now we can do the podcast.
If I said no,
yeah, well,
we would just walked out.
Call it a day.
It's June 1st, 2017.
And this is Idle Thumbs 308. I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Brecken.
And I'm Jake Rodkin. Well, hello.
Hello there.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome to our video game podcast, Idle Thumbs.
I'm back on it.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Remember 2 months ago when you were on this podcast?
Weird.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How was it without me, guys? Probably the same. Normal.
It was the same. We just kind of called Spaff you Chris most of the time, and it was fine. It was like how people call their teacher mom.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. Kids mess up and call a teacher mom.
Is that true? I guess you would know. As a mom and a teacher.
As an American mom.
Yeah. How's it going in your video game life, you guys? I've been
Welcome
playing
to our new podcast, Game Life,
Gaming
Life, starring Chris Kohler.
Yeah. I think that name is free again, right? That's still not a thing, is it?
No. We could claim so many old game site names as we could bring them all back.
True, man. GameShark.
Yeah, we could.
Game Life. Game Spy, probably.
I think they would refer to
GameSpy.
GameShark. Wasn't that the cheating console? You're thinking of
Sharky's Extreme.
We could bring back Sharky's Extreme.
No, wasn't there a GameShark
crispy,
website?
Your lowest
crunchy
CPU
gamer,
prices.
Free.
Didn't Danielle write for GameShark?
I'm sure she did.
Am I just totally mixing up?
GameShark.
I'm probably completely mixing up.
We could bring back the Game Genie.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the site that Danielle wrote for?
Are you thinking of Zam?
No,
that's
no,
a
no,
long
no.
walk from old GameShark.
Long time ago.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway,
whatever it is, it's ours now.
here on GameShark.
Blues News.
Blues News is probably
they're
still
definitely
around.
still
They're
around.
still around, I suppose.
Yeah, surely.
Yeah.
Sharky's Extreme, though.
Blues News still says all the carnage that's fit the print in its title.
Oh my
That's
God.
a blast from the
Wow.
goddamn past.
Fuck.
Also, their web design is a blast from the past because it's the same.
Yeah, of course it is.
The Shack News of, Jesus, wow. Shack News is still the Shack News of video games. I was going to say the slash dot of video game news is what I would refer to this podcast as.
Man, this is a really appropriate conversation because I've been playing Prey.
Yeah.
The game that would have been covered by every website we are discussing at great length from like 1998 to 2002.
It probably was.
It probably is. I mean, if you look in the...
With the sites we've all just discussed are definitely the sites that have continued to cover Prey from 1998 to 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, weird.
They have all of the screenshots of all of the different versions of each
Impossible
failed
geometries.
version of a Prey game. Yeah.
Oh, we talked about that so much last month.
Yeah.
Oh, did you really?
Oh, yeah, because we played the Prey demo, and we definitely got deep into the GT Interactive Prey trailer conversation.
Yeah. I've been playing the new one, and there aren't a lot of impossible geometries.
No.
It's pretty like normal geometries, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. It scares the shit out of me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it really does. And
I only played the demo because my Steam drive doesn't work because I'm a chump. I'm a baby. I'm sorry, everyone. But the demo did not scare me at all.
Yeah.
Those fucking mimics, it really freaks me out.
They startle you? Oh, they didn't startle me at all.
They really do. It's weird. Horror games have never been a genre that Like, the notion of horror games to me is more of a sort of subject matter descriptor than actually an emotion that has any impact on me at all, except this game.
Were you freaked out when you played Fear? Like, when you climbed down the stairs and the girl's there when the animation looks up?
Yeah, that might have. Maybe I was a little tense, but it wasn't like
the fact
this.
that the mimics are just throughout the levels as an enemy type actually gets you.
Yeah, and also because, honestly, the biggest reason is that they also kick my ass. Like, I started the game on normal difficulty, and it was a while before I died, but then when I did, I died like 3 times.
Right.
When 4 fucking lamps would turn into 4 mimics, and then I would just get wrecked, and it was really surprising to me. And I was talking to Zach Johnson of Kingdom of Loathing and Video Game Hot Dog, because he sits next to me, and he saw that I was playing it at lunch, and he asked what I was thinking about it, and I sort of related this experience to him. And he said, yeah, I turned it down to easy, and I still got wrecked. And I'd been playing on normal, which I already thought was going to be... Like, I was already sort of deciding between normal and hard, just because that's my normal... That's usually one of those two is what I play on in a first-person shooter on PC. And, man, no, it was too much. So I turned it down to easy, and I've just been... After he indicated he's been having the same experience...
After he told you it was okay to be easy?
Yeah, a supportive baby.
Well, I didn't know if I was just doing something wrong, which I probably am. I mean, I probably am, not just, not being great at it, but hearing someone else who's also, plays a lot of video games was having the same experience. I just turned it down, but I really, really like it. I'm sure that this comparison has been made a million times, and I'm sure you guys made it on the last episode, but it feels more like BioShock than any new game I've played since BioShock, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also like a...
it seems like it reaches farther back than BioShock in some ways, systemically.
Yeah. It draws a lot from System Shock 2 and games like that. Yeah, it does. I mean, it feels like it aesthetically is sort of picking up where BioShock left off, but on the same evolutionary tree that BioShock itself was on is sort of reaching further back into that primordial ooze of game design, and with all of the crafting stuff and the which I really like, by the way. I love just like collecting cigarette butts and banana peels and crap. Like, I really do. I love that. I love it. I really enjoyed that when you start in this game, all that stuff is available. Like, even when you're still in the early sections of the game, which are a sort of, like bait and switch kind of segment, like, you're still just collecting all this garbage.
Are you finding that you're using that stuff a fair amount? Because I felt like BioShock had, like, you're always collecting rubber hoses and chunks of guts and stuff. I crafted like twice in the entire BioShock 1 campaign, I feel like. But maybe you were just more of a crafter.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I
wasn't.
I felt like I crafted when the crit path was like, we're gonna make you craft right now to make some object that some character needs,
like a turret or something.
Other than that, I don't think I ever crafted in BioShock.
I mean, in this game, recyclers are littered around the levels pretty liberally. And I really just enjoy the chunkiness of dumping all of my banana peels into a bin and turning them into cubes.
Right.
Like, that in itself is sort of satisfying.
That felt good even in the demo, the way that worked.
Yeah. And so, I don't know. It cracked me up. I don't know if this was contained in the demo or not, but, I'd spent however long I'd spent just playing the game, sort of collecting all this garbage and being like, I wonder what I'm going to do with this. And then eventually you find a recycler. Great. And it's a while before anything comes of it. And I found, the plans to this weapon, the Huntress Boltcaster, and there's like an email chain about going back and forth about what they're going to call it, and someone wants to call it like the fucking Destroyer or some shit, and they're like, we can't call it that. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be so cool when I make this gun. Like, I can't wait. And then you plug all your crap into the fabricator thing, and you go chunk, and out pops like a Nerf gun.
Oh, that's really good.
Literally, like, it actually fires foam darts that do 0 damage.
Oh, man.
It says in it they do 0 damage. But you can use it to like attract enemies and press buttons from afar.
Yeah, that must have been in the demo in a place that I didn't find, because I saw videos or from a press event or something. I saw a video of someone firing a Nerf gun across a room to turn off a light switch and just said, and that's prey. And I went, oh man, that like, what a good thing to include in your game. There's gotta be what is that thing called?
The Huntress Boltcaster.
Yeah, do you think there's a Boltcaster only run somewhere? Do you think?
Oh, man.
I wonder if it's possible. There's probably boss encounters and stuff. I
feel
if
like you'd need to use the wrench at least, right? I mean, I don't know how you would avoid every mimic in the whole game. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. But
someone will figure it out.
This
is video games, Chris.
When you get in the
come on.
Yeah, when you get into the realm of weird speedrunners and stuff, I guess nothing is off the table.
Yeah, just how much of the game can you complete entirely with the Nerf gun has got to be a question that people are asking themselves and pushing very hard against right now.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't do any offensive damage whatsoever, so it would only be used, I guess, to sort of... I guess, you could distract enemies by sort of firing it into a corner, attracting them over there, and then running past them,
potentially cause physics events to do damage or open a door that you shouldn't be able to get to and escape a room quickly. But otherwise, it doing 0 damage is fantastic.
Yeah. Yes. Anyway, so I really like this game a lot. It's really good. It's weird that it's just called Prey again. I have 2 identical entries on my Steam list, which is really annoying.
The best sort of
actually bad.
The best goof that I saw about that was just the fact that Prey 2017 is a game full of duplicate items, one of which is going to leap out and kill you, and the fact that people now have 2 identically named things in their Steam profile is a really good meta goof.
Really
probably
funny.
Not intentional, but
definitely not intentional.
They sort of just image meme of it says just one of these is a mimic and points to Prey in everyone's Steam library.
That's really good. Yeah, I like it. I'm surprised. It's surprising to be playing it. I wonder how well it's doing. Does anyone know how it's being received? Yeah,
I think it's been
critically really well received. I don't know if it's selling or not.
That's not surprising to me. Yeah, it's good. I like it a lot. I'm excited to play more of it. On my new baby mode, my new encouraged baby mode.
Does it? It's cool that. What is the punishment for dying in this game? Is it classic quick load, quick save? You can die anywhere.
Latest save, and the game is fairly liberal with its quick saving.
Checkpoints.
I think when you use computer terminal stuff like that. The only reason I know that is because there was this one place I died a bunch of times, and it kept respawning me at the computer terminal I was just using, even though I hadn't manually saved there. But
it is arbitrary save point based. It doesn't have like the BioShock Vita chamber thing or anything like that to it.
No, I haven't encountered any sort of in-world justification like that.
I'm glad that the game is fine with just being brutally difficult and then making easy mode be the sort of one that is playable.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like it's okay for games to just be brutally hard again at this point.
Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah. In this post-Doom world, I guess goes much farther. Post-Dark Souls world.
Post-roguelike, post-Dark Souls world. Just backtracking and thinking about crafting, I'm going to talk about Zelda for half a second.
Please.
Sorry, I've never been a person
who still been playing Zelda.
Yeah, I've been playing the shit out of that game, but I've never been a person who liked crafting or cooking or any of those things in any game. But after playing through Breath of the Wild, I feel like I finally actually have a taste for it. So when it showed up in the
taste for it,
when it showed up in the Prey demo, even I went, "Oh, hey, crafting is a thing that I like," which has never been a feeling that I've ever had. And that was
now that I've played the Nintendo version, I like crafting.
Zelda just makes it so palatable. Like I've always been so put off by the generic video game crafting system of collect a ton of stupid ore and whatever things, throw it into a bin, and then an item comes out. Like, it's always just been a thing that I've not wanted to engage with. But it was so rewarding and so necessary in Zelda that when it showed up in Prey, it was weird to have had that switch flipped in my brain to be like, oh, crafting.
Yeah.
I've never been an crafting person. Usually I fucking get this out of my video game.
Person. Yeah.
But thanks for finishing my sentence. But that was that stupid realization that maybe I am more open to engaging with crafting.
Yeah.
Was actually a thing that made me want to play Prey, to put that to the test, and then my Steam drive crashed.
I hope as you recycle things in Prey, you're going like boom, 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 boom.
Hopefully I am.
There's a Prey mod.
that has like.
Yeah, I love that. My favorite part about it is the little like in the middle. It's like really quiet and really subtle, and it's like right really in the middle of the little sequence. It's my favorite. I live for that fucking little hum.
I know the crafting music in Breath of the Wild definitely is engineered to make you seek out opportunities to cook food.
Yeah, the one thing honestly that makes me, and this is one of those sort of weird video game complaints that is, I always find. I never know what to think about it, even when I'm the one making it, because I'm only making this complaint after experiencing the thing for dozens of hours, and it's like, does it really make sense to sort of criticize something that you get tired of when you yourself have like subjected yourself to it for that long? But nonetheless, a thing that at this point is sort of frustrating to me about the food crafting in Zelda is that you don't have a list of recipes. Because it's
I thought there was one somewhere.
There is.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Are you serious? In the game?
I couldn't tell you exactly where because
Is it in the UI or is it in the world?
It's in the UI.
Oh my god. Okay.
Well, I don't know if there's a specific like list that you can look at, but there's definitely a way to look up recipes that you've already cooked.
Really?
Yeah. It's not.
Oh my god.
I think things you haven't learned, it's not going to show you. But
of course. I wouldn't want that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But yeah, there is a way to sort of like
Oh man! All right, I've wasted tons of time and food.
I found that for most things in Breath of the Wild, there's a basic system you can kind of look at of like the heart value of a generic item combined with like how many of a certain type of thing you stack in will create a pretty consistent multiplier on top of it.
Like, you know, don't use more than one special ability because they'll sort of cancel. There's stuff, and I have definitely just obviously by practice learned those basic rules, but there's also lots of special recipes that are just specific collections of things.
Yeah, they do get tracked. I just can't remember where.
Yeah, I can't either.
Man, all right. I don't know how I haven't found that, given how much I.
The answer is because there's the plus and the minus. But there's like two different side buttons to sum it up. Two different complete full screen UIs, all of which have multiple tabs you can go back and forth in. All of which have sub tabs.
Yeah,
that is a hardcore. The encyclopedia inside of the Zelda game is maybe too big.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, is it part of the encyclopedia?
I don't remember where it is. I just mean the entire full screen UI system in that game is just huge.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. And the division between what's on the
map screen and what's on the inventory screen is strange.
It sort of makes sense, but yeah, it's kind of arbitrary.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I suppose those are my prey impressions so far, I guess. I really like that game. But my experience with it has been, I haven't had a lot of experiences that are
story worthy or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You know what I mean? I haven't, probably in part because I'm playing it sort of so gingerly. Mm-hmm. I'm also just, as is the case with me with games like this, and BioShock was like this for me, and any game that is sort of in this mode is like this for me. I will explore every single area exhaustively. You know, so I'm moving through I probably haven't missed any little bits of scrap in any room that I've been in. You know, unless they're actually physically inaccessible to me because I don't have sufficient like lifting skill yet or something like that. Like I am so slow paced in these games because I hate the idea of missing any like emails or crap to pick up or, you know, key cards on a guy or whatever. And so as a result, I feel like that sort of methodical playstyle both means I'm moving through the overall progression of the game more slowly than some people would. Like I know Zach said he was playing, he wasn't.
He's just blasting through.
He wasn't blasting, but he was sort of playing through at more of a pace. And then also, I feel like it's giving me probably fewer crazy experiences because I'm not rushing into rooms and having crazy encounters. Also, with the kinds of enemies I've encountered so far, they don't really feel like they're conducive to the kind of this might change, but I haven't really encountered enemies that feel like, you know, to continue the BioShock comparison, a Big Daddy or something where this sort of a big set piece battle where it feels like different dynamics could kind of come. I get so like on edge with these goddamn guys, even the big ones on, you know, the bipedal ones, that I sort of just like cover them with goo to sort of immobilize them as quickly as possible because I just hate them existing and just smash the shit out of them with the wrench. But that's like all my encounters.
At least in the demo, man, I wish I had played more of Prey. I got the impression because like you just mentioned your lifting and destruction powers being able to level up. It seemed like your sort of ability to explore and have agency over the space as a whole was a more central piece of Prey than it is in BioShock, where BioShock feels like it's all about the enemies, and because they don't have your character's ability like mathematically combined with your items to have sort of agency over and be able to uncover and alter the place. Seems like that was a big priority in this game.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I think that's true, and I think it feels as though the interconnected space station is closer to something like System Shock 2, where you actually have increasingly full reign over it, and you can always go back and retraverse all areas of it. I mean, BioShock has elements of that, but
BioShock you mechanically can do it, but the game never actually...
whereas this feels like more of a hub-based... There actually is a literal sort of lobby kind of, which, and it seems more intended to be your domain over the course of the game.
Have you found that you managing your because you choose where to put points into your character, right?
It's a skill tree,
right. So you could conceivably sort of grind or push to access a certain area first based on just where you place points.
Yeah. So as with anything like Deus Ex or any game like this, I immediately started leveling up hacking because like my brain will be furious if I feel like I've passed a computer that I could have hacked into, but I didn't put enough points in the thing.
Right.
So, or like,
I mean, that's functionally similar, though, to being able to lift up things that are covering walls, but you sort of just trust you'll remember to open the big doors, whereas you won't remember to hack all the computers?
Well, because the computer is like, someone had to write this content, and so, whereas a lot of time, I mean, sometimes you'll find someone's sort of audio log or something in a hole behind a bookcase that you have to pick up, but like sometimes it's just some ammo or something. Whereas with a computer, it's like it's always going to be.
There's going to be those emails.
Yeah, I want to read those emails.
You're going to creep on people.
Emails. But yeah. Anyway, it's good. I like it a lot. I'm really impressed that they made it. Anytime a game like this comes out, it's sort of. Even one along the lines of Dishonored or something, which is a different kind of like jumping off point, but from the same, I would say, heritage. I'm always impressed when games like this come out because there's just no reason to do it. Like, there's no like strong business case for why you should have to put all this crap in your game. It's so much extra design complexity for. I mean, for good reason, I think, as someone who likes this kind of stuff, but like, I can't possibly imagine that like capitalism demands these games exists.
No.
I don't know, but I'm really glad that they
have to just be a studio of big nerds.
Yeah.
Arkane is clearly like the keeper of the PC first-person nerd flame right now.
Right? It's the same. It's the same studio as Dishonored. I didn't even. Prey is has such a weird, tortured, twisty history that I totally forgot that. Yeah, of course, these people make Dishonored and this.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah, good job, those guys.
Yep.
Good job, Raphael Colantonio and Harvey.
Smith, I don't know if I don't know if those guys were in charge of this team though. Even though it's that studio.
Oh, really? I thought one of them was. I thought they split up.
Oh, maybe they split up.
Yeah, I think Harvey did Dishonored 2, and I think Raph did Prey.
Okay.
That team in Austin.
Yeah.
Harvey was in France
Nice.
for
Yeah, I guess good on them for making Dishonored and then splitting in half and making two immersive sim heritage shooters.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Basically at the same time, I guess.
Yeah.
They came out a year apart from each other,
It's
right?
really impressive. It actually reminds me of when, was it Eidos Montreal split up and made both the new Deus Ex and the new, or at the time, the new Thief.
Oh, yeah.
It was very much
That's right.
that same, like, sort of a bunch of people who were inspired by, who like grew up or, playing games of this particular heritage, like, ended up inheriting the licenses to them. And
I mean, in the last 2-year window, we got a new Hitman, a new Deus Ex, a Dishonored 2, and Prey also, which is
crazy.
All of which were pretty well regarded, it seems like, as well. Like, I mean, you guys, it seems like had somewhat mixed feelings about Deus Ex.
In the end, I really liked it. I don't think it was...
Your initial comparisons to Deus Ex 3 were not super favorable.
It's definitely does not stick in my mind the way Deus Ex 3 did. Just that game won't live in my memory with the
Your
same
story
potency,
about casing the bank casually by accident because you just liked being in the space, then getting a mission to go in there and being able to just lord over that space has stuck with me as a like that. That's a as a person who didn't play that game, that was like a memorable thing to even just be told about a video game.
The thing that I think they really achieved with that game was they really stepped up their level design game, and they really committed to that, the sort of design attitude that allows that kind of thing to be possible. And at least in some really big, key, large areas, and I really appreciated that. Yeah, that game had really good stuff in it. Cool. Nick, what have you been playing?
I've been playing a ton of Oxygen Not Included, which is
I really want to play that, and I haven't yet.
Game from Clay, who made Don't Starve.
Okay.
It's very good. It's very interesting to play a game like this, and I'll kind of go back and explain what it is. But play a game that is this just driven by, it's just one of those kind of roguelike systems-driven things. But
it's like a builder, right?
It's a builder this time. But it's really weird to be playing a game like this that is just clearly not yet finished, or even it's close enough that you can play it and really enjoy it. But it's also very clear that so many things need to be like added and tuned, it's really interesting to play something like this at that stage.
Wait, is it an early access?
Yeah, it's an early access. Yeah, it just came out like a couple weeks ago in early access. I saw a screenshot of this game a couple months ago and just kind of assumed that it was going to be kind of in the vein of Don't Starve, where you're controlling one little guy and walking around. I just figured that's just what they do. But no, it's more like a cross between something like RimWorld and like Fallout Shelter, where
that's what it looked like.
It's very much you're sort of lording over multiple little guys that kind of run around and have their own agency and do whatever you kind of order them to do. From a strategy perspective, but then it's in that sort of flat 2D side-on, kind of like ant farm based perspective, which is really interesting. One, playing a builder game in that perspective, where a lot of the game is drawing like electricity lines and like pipes and things, and like they all overlap. Which is just
cool.
Immediately like a problem for your brain. Like, how do I deal with this? But then also like just from a game design perspective, it's it's just like, anyway, this game is still like in the early stages, and a lot of the UI and stuff is fairly rough. But already it's really, really good. So.
I mean, what are like the basic dynamics of this game?
So the basic dynamics are so the premise is that you're on, I guess, an asteroid. Like you're dug into the middle of an asteroid or something.
I mean, this is also like Starbound and that sort of game, or side-scrolling, or like side view.
Terraria.
I didn't play either of those games.
Oh, okay. Those are both games in which you build and construct a lot of space in a side-scrolled view, or like a 2D plane. I keep calling it a side scroller. So it's like a platformer.
I mean, it technically does scroll.
Yeah, it does
to the side.
Yeah, I imagine those games don't have the sort of demands that this game requires.
And those games are more often
overlapping 1,000 things.
Those games are more close to. I mean, they were like Terraria was initially sort of called a like 2D Minecraft.
Yeah,
but anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to distract with that.
No, this game gets very bonkers.
That's potentially just an aesthetic inroad and mechanical inroad for a lot of people, because those games are huge.
So you start with three they're called duplicants, but they're just little people, and they all have different stats in this sort of RimWorld way, where you've got
duplicants.
Yeah. I guess they're fabricated like clones or something. I don't know.
Are they duplicans or duplicants? Because mine would be duplicans.
Okay, Chris.
I'm just gonna just lay that on the line there and say, no fucking around in my asteroid base.
Okay. They're going to fuck around. This game, I have not played a game like this that is so demanding from the first turn or whatever you want to call it. Like they call them cycles, but like there's a day-night cycle even though you're in the middle of an asteroid. Holy God, this game is hard. I have mastered it to a certain degree, but it has taken a lot of time.
What's your internalization percentage?
Oh, 60% maybe.
Wow, all right.
It's a
Pretty
fucking
good.
hard-ass game. So the demands, the axes are basically you have these little duplicants. They require food and they require oxygen. The main mechanic in this game is the gas mechanic, which is so you start kind of in this hollowed-out area of the asteroid, and there are different kind of biomes that are sort of, they all have different properties. Like there's the sort of hot biome with kind of really polluted gases. There's the cold biome with ice and, little weird creatures and stuff. You start in kind of the only area that is like normal temperature, decent amount of oxygen to start, etc.
You start in the area where oxygen is included.
Yeah. Well, so... God, this is such a complicated game, really. So the gas system is basically like every tile has a certain level, like a certain pressure, and then it contains different gases. And then they shade those tiles based on what the primary gas is. So when you start, you'll see like mostly blue because that represents oxygen, and it's sort of just a kind of a moving, warping texture that just kind of essentially simulates so if you open up a little hallway, you'll see the texture kind of warp in there and it's showing the gas kind
fluid
of, basically it's a fluid simulation. But immediately the second that you sort of spawn in, your little guys are just consuming that oxygen and then spitting out carbon dioxide. And I would say you probably
have... Is the carbon dioxide also simulated as a...
Oh, everything is.
What?
Oh, yeah. So you'll see, like, black carbon dioxide start to spawn.
God.
And so there are, like, 8 or 9 different overlays that you use with F keys.
Oh, man.
So one of them is just, like, toxic level of gas.
Yeah.
And so right from the start, you're basically, you have no food. I think they give you, like, maybe 3 days supply of food or something, but basically it's just shit.
Yeah.
And you have no way of producing oxygen, so you have to immediately figure out a way to create oxygen, which then the bigger your base is, the harder that becomes because if you're pumping so much oxygen with this one little oxygen pumper, that's only going to go so far or create that much pressure. So the second you even start building a larger base, you're fucking yourself because you can't actually sustain that without all of these other things.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then there's the food, which is like it's insanely limited. Like I haven't played a game like this that just...
You should stream this game.
Yeah, you totally
maybe I
stream
should.
This game.
It
sounds like a perfect streaming game.
I have played, I don't know how many like attempts at this. Like, with something like RimWorld, I feel like when I was playing that game, I probably played maybe 3 or 4 starts, really, because you just go so long that you're playing a lot of the game.
Yeah.
This game feels like, at least the way it's tuned right now, I have a feeling they're going to change it up.
It could be the early access thing of it's brutal and the rounds are going to be short until you become a lord.
Well,
if you can even become that. I mean, it seems like
I don't think you can.
A lot of early access stuff, people push all that stuff to be as tough as it can be, so that people really have to claw their way through the systems.
I suspect that's the phase that it's in, and I'm really curious to see whether they're going to tune it such that it's, I don't know, they provide more food at the beginning to kind of give you just a mental break from just in the initial stages. It is just so demand. Like I have played, I don't know, 20 different like colonies at this point. And I feel like my average playtime is for each one is maybe 20 minutes. Yeah. Because at that point I just know, I've got X amount of food. I can see around me that I'm not finding the right, because it's a procedurally generated sort of map. I haven't found a natural gas geyser yet, so I'm basically fucked. I'm going to start over. Like, it's just that brutal where you just know immediately, like, all right, nope, I'm off track. This isn't going to go right. That can happen from the first few minutes, where there's an actual fluid system where you have water. The water can become polluted, which then can be used as fertilizer. That alone is just bonkers to talk about. But if you start out and you're just like fresh water supply, if you can basically just do something like mine through the ground, and your water just leaks down and just falls into a fucking chasm, or like becomes polluted by another water source, or just something stupid happens, and then you just know you're done. and you're just fucking, it's all over.
But you're enjoying this game, it seems
It's
like.
really good.
Nice.
It's,
I wanna find
it's so brutal.
I want to find the stream of the fucking Lord who's just already maxed out the like playable space that the game.
It definitely those people exist for sure. I've seen screenshots of bases, and I've gotten to the point where I've had just insane chains of like, God, I mean, just the natural gas geyser. This is just one example of the way this game works. So. There aren't many sustainable ways to power your base. You can use coal, but that creates carbon dioxide, and it's a finite resource. You have to find so much coal, and it's really usually not in abundant supply. But you can find a natural gas geyser, which is just this little like hole in the like a tile that just looks like a little hole, and it's spitting orange gas, and usually the gas around it is at max pressure. And it's just sort of like pushing at the tiles. Like anything that has a lot of pressure in this game, like if you have like a big like tub of water or something, it's pushing at the tiles around it, like the solid tiles, to the extent where like if it's just sand, it will actually just push through it.
It'll degrade. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But so if you find this gas geyser, you can kind of trap it with like base tiles and create. It's just the pressure is so great that you have to be really careful and create like essentially an airlock where there's a gas pump that's pumping out all of the gas so that the natural gas doesn't eventually leak into your base and kill everybody. But if you can manage that, you can trap the gas. You can create a natural gas generator. Now you have to pump the gas using a gas pump through a gas filter, which then has three slots. One is for the intake. One is you can choose on a menu which gas is being filtered out of that, which specific gas on like a list of 20 is being filtered out of that to wherever.
Oh, Lord.
And then every other gas that isn't being filtered, and that goes
the
through
exhaust,
an outtake.
right?
Yeah, the exhaust, and then you create like a little vent to wherever you want to. Then you take the natural gas.
Can you feed then the exhaust into a different filter, which filters out another one? Can you
You can, but those exhausts are like each filter takes like 200 watts of electricity, which is incredibly like the more of these things you make, the more generators you need, you're probably using coal to start it up at first, which means that you're probably running out of coal while this is happening, and your base falls apart while you're trying to build this thing. It's just so anyway. So then you get the natural gas to the generator. At that point, the generator itself generates carbon dioxide as it's creating power. So then on top of you pumping this filter, like any air that's around it, it's also just creating more stuff that's killing everything. So then you've got to figure out what to do with that.
Sounds like a very environmentalist game.
Oh my
God. Everything is dangerous and will kill you.
It's terrible. Yeah. So, but there's no way to like filter carbon dioxide out of the air except for an air scrubber, which, you can use these algae things, but it's not sustainable. The air scrubber, however, requires fresh water, which then deposits polluted water.
How does an asteroid have all these natural resources?
It's a big asteroid.
It's a big asteroid, Chris.
It's a good one.
So the air scrubber spits out polluted water, which then has to be run through a water filter, which again, all of these things, everything I'm describing takes
power.
A lot of power.
Yeah.
That water filter can then be basically chained back onto the air scrubber so that it's filtering out the polluted water and then using the fresh water from the actual thing. So that's somewhat sustainable. But then on top of all of that shit, the natural gas geyser or generator, it's spitting out carbon dioxide, but it's also just farting out of like leaking out of itself polluted water on top of all of that in a way that is just like unlike anything else in the game. It's just leaking out of this machine. So then you have to build these like mesh tiles that go underneath the generator so that the water can leak through the thing and not just get
seep into
somewhere.
Yeah.
But then you've got to make sure that you build it someplace where that's also sustainable, right? Like eventually you're just going to have...
So this is just like a zero-sum system. Nothing makes waste just like go away. It just sort of filters things, and then that has to...
the way that it's built, you're just going to die eventually. There's no... And you know that from the start because it can happen really quickly.
I can't decide if you're making me really want to play this game or never ever play this game.
I think it would give you a migraine, Chris.
Yeah,
like I think you would lose your mind playing this game.
Well,
you probably would enjoy it for a little bit, but I think it would turn your life into
your
a living
objective
hell.
in builder games and in sim games, Chris, always seems to be I wish to create and then sustain an harmony.
You can't reach that.
You want to watch all the machines that you've built sort of
edge.
chug away as opposed to just like this is just like
always on the brink of collapse.
Entropy, atrophy, always.
Yeah. No, it's always, you worry about food because you see your food dropping, and so you deal with that for a minute, and then while that's happening, your power dies, or, something becomes toxic, or it's just always the second you look away from whatever is happening in your base, you're just done.
Definitely. I mean, it has so much builder and sim stuff, but it's using all of that vocabulary and mechanics to make a survival game, right? I mean, like that's...
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's in that vein. I mean, it's not too dissimilar from Don't Starve in that, like, it's little people that are running around that have...
Don't Starve so much, though, is about your single character and is more this is like the Minecraft survival model as opposed to, like, your crew in this case.
Right, yeah. And the other thing about that is that you can basically determine how big your crew is. Like, every 2 or 3 days or something, you get a chance to just spawn somebody else in. But
what is
at certain points,
fictional explanation for that?
I don't know. You're just making people out of.
This is a fucked up society.
Well, they're duplicants, Chris.
They're duplicants. No, there are a lot of things in this game where you can see. Oh, they're probably going to do blank.
These will be connected together or extended or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, like right now, there's no real way to cool down water. For instance, you can make water warmer, but you can't make it cooler. They're surely going to add the building that does that.
An incredibly expensive process to cool water.
Yeah.
Oh my god. It is an absolute nightmare.
But you love it.
I love it though.
I really want to see you stream this.
All right, I'll stream it.
Yeah.
I'll stream it.
You guys want to take a break?
Sure. This episode of Idle Thumbs is brought to you by Omaha Steaks.
Oh man.
Classic Omaha Steaks. If you go to omahasteaks.com, enter the code IDLE in the search bar at the top of the page, you can get the family gift pack added to your cart with an 80% savings.
It's a humongous amount of meat.
It is massive. I feel like it's even bigger than the last time we got. It's outrageous.
My entire freezer is very cold because it contains blocks of meats that are just stacked to the top.
Here's what's in it. 2 filet mignon, 2 top sirloins, 4 chicken fried steaks, 4 boneless pork chops, 4 burgers, 4 jumbo franks, a 12-ounce package of all beef meatballs, a pound of fries, that's new, 4 caramel apple tartlets, and then you get like Omaha steak seasoning, and also just 4 more burgers. That is, I don't even know why that's like a separate thing, but just like also don't forget
burgers
more burgers.
Plus burgers.
Yeah, that is all for just $49.99 if you go and use that offer code IDLE. In the search bar at omahasteaks.com. I've just gotten into a habit recently of like the night before I will just I'll take something out, put it in the fridge, and then the next night I've got just like a meat ready to make. Like when I don't have something specific planned, I'll defrost my thing and then I'll just put something together.
Nice.
That's great. Anyway, if you go to omahasteaks.com, enter the code IDLE into the search bar. Get that family pack with just an intimidating amount of meat for 80% off.
Someone in chat said that's enough meat to create a human.
That's where they came from.
Oh,
in your game.
They got an Omaha Steaks thing. They brought it with them to the asteroid.
That's
all we have.
The sponsored content in Oxygen Not Included is your Omaha Steaks delivery, which you can choose to use as food or as raw crafting material to make a duplicant.
To make a person. Yeah.
It's not a person, it's a duplicant.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's a duplican. This episode of Idle Thumbs is also brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace, as we all know, is the best, the fastest, the easiest, most user-friendly and professional way to make your very own website, portfolio, blog, or online store. And if you go to squarespace.com and use the offer code THUMBS at checkout, you will get 10% off your first purchase. That's squarespace.com with the offer code THUMBS. And as we often do, we have an example of a Squarespace site from an Idle Thumbs reader who used the Thumbs offer code. This is John Coughlin, who says, "Hey Thumbs, I use Squarespace to make my game development portfolio. My page is a mix of static text, full-screen GIFs, and audio albums. Squarespace plays really well with them all." And the address is johncoughlin.com. That's JONCOUGHLIN.com. And he then points out the extra good URL, johncoughlin.com/Luigi, which is a very good site that I verified is real and good. And the page is called The Sounds of the Eyes of Luigi. He was the voice of Luigi in the Idle Thumbs Wizard Jam game, The Eyes of Luigi. And if you go to johncoughlin.com/Luigi, you can all of his little
that was really good, funny
bites.
Luigi audio.
Yeah.
It's me, Luigi. Hello? Mario? 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 Cell phone.
There's very good stuff in there. It's really good. It's a great looking site. It's got all of his portfolio up on it. You made it with Squarespace. Super easy. If you go to squarespace.com and use the offer code THUMBS, you'll get 10% off. Make your own Luigi-oriented website or anything else. Thanks, Squarespace.
Are we back?
Yeah, we're back.
Emails?
Oh.
We're back. And wait, before we're emails, quickly, because I was reminded by that Squarespace ad, Wizard Jam.
Wizard Jam. I was
is
going to just
coming
talk
up.
about it at the end of the episode, but I'll talk about it
Okay.
now.
Sorry, Jake.
No one listens to the end.
That's true. What people want in the middle is for there to be 3 ads.
Is that an ad?
It's not an ad. Wizard Jam is the Idle Thumbs community-run game jam that happens every 6 months, really reliably. Wizard Jam 5 is starts this weekend. Wizard Jam, it's a 2-week-long game jam. It's non-competitive. They do a very good job of making it inviting and welcome to the veteran game developers and game jammers, and also a ton of people over the 4 previous Wizard Jams have made their first ever video game as a part of Wizard Jam. The gist of Wizard Jam is pick an Idle Thumbs episode title as your sort of starter idea, and then make any game based on that. Like, it doesn't have to be about the contents of the episode. It can be just sort of whatever inspired you about one of the names of any of the podcast episodes on our site. So, you could make one out of one of the really gross Terminal 7 Netrunner titles, or you could make a really enigmatic one like The Return Part 3, named after last week's Twin Peaks episode.
I'm hoping that happens. Or Tone Control or Designer Notes episodes.
Yeah,
I want to see a game called Jonathan Blow.
Yeah.
Or
I think someone in Wizard Jam 4 made Greg Kasavin.
oh, you're right. That's true.
So, yeah, if you want, for more information, you can go to wizardjam.org. They got a domain name to keep me from saying the huge itch.io URL. There's also a big Wizard Jam forum on the Idle Thumbs forums where there's a sort of team building and recruiting thread if you're interested in joining in on someone else's project and don't want to do your own thing but think you could contribute or sort of get a toe in the water that way. And also, over the next 2 weeks, I really recommend going to the Wizard Jam forums at idlethumbs.net and just looking, because every game almost in Wizard Jam has a development thread, and people are often very good at keeping them updated, and it's just really fun to watch everyone's games come together. Like, the quality and breadth of Wizard Jam is astounding every single time it happens. Like, it's just as entertainment if you sort of just like games as a medium and like watching them come together. The Wizard Jam forums are a delight for the next 2 weeks.
It's true. Wizardjam.org.
Yep.
All right, let's do some email.
I have a short thing I wanted to talk about before
Please.
the email.
Yeah, do it.
Not that we...
Oh my
No,
goodness.
go for it.
So I played like a minute of this Star Trek bridge simulator game for
You played 1 minute?
for PlayStation VR. Yeah, I just wanted to briefly mention how weird VR is. So
Okay.
I loaded this game up, and I think the game is actually pretty cool. It's basically just Space Team, but in VR
with Star Trek,
with a crazy Star Trek bridge and everything.
Yeah.
Everything looks really good. I was playing the tutorial
Is
for
this
a minute.
PSVR only?
It's also on Vive and
Okay.
I assume Oculus.
And this is an official thing?
Yeah, it's an official Star Trek game, but I mean, it's just it's essentially like I said, it's Space Team, which you know what Space Team is. It's 4 or 5 people all stuck in one console, and you have a
Is this
sort
a
of role,
multiplayer game?
and it is. So I loaded the game up at first, and I haven't used my PSVR in like a month, and so I was sort of putting the headset on and like trying to find my things, and Janelle, my girlfriend, was sitting next to me. And so I just hit quick match, but like kind of before I was ready, and I just assumed it was it was just whatever, just a stupid like throwaway
Walk
mission
around the bridge, and
so you load in and you're kind of just like on the bridge, and I'm like looking around, getting oriented, and I'm talking to Janelle, and I'm like, can you hand me the controller over there? God, this thing is like, wow, whatever. Like, and I was like, I fumbled and like knocked over a glass, and I was just like joking with her, just like yelling, and you know, we were just sort of like laughing, and then I did something stupid, and I was looking around, and then finally I was like situated, and I'm kind of.
Did you knock over a real glass or a glass in the game?
A real glass. I'm just, I'm like, where are my stupid controllers? Like, all right, I got my hands here. All right, cool. And then I look over, and there are people, and I'm like, I wonder if. Wait a minute, are any of these people going to be real people? And then I just hear from the left, I'm a real person, and I turn to the left, and there's this guy who's just been staring and listening to all this shit for like 3 minutes, and I don't know what I said.
Yeah, he's hit from his perspective. He's like the rudest asswipe just showed up on my bridge.
Someone just fucking like Scotty beamed up into this fucking place and started knocking shit over. Where's my thing? Hey, Janelle, what's going on?
Yeah. Like, we were just sort of like playfully bantering, but to somebody else, it probably sounded like we were just screaming at each other or something. It was, oh man, it was so weird to just see another VR person just like turn their head and be like, I'm real. Fuck, no.
I am a real person.
Yeah. It's really,
and then he
really
followed that up
startling.
with, you've killed us all, you fool.
No, I just immediately quit out of the game. I panicked. So he said, I'm real, and then he just saw a person just dissolve in front of him.
Man, I hope that
am I real?
If people coming and going from that game actually has the Star Trek teleporter effect, you would have created the most surreal, shitty bridge officer. Just, where's my
stuff?
Where's my controller? Yeah. Oh my god! Just like, ugh, who hired that idiot?
Yeah. Anyway, the game seems cool. They
All right.
No, I will say one thing about it. They did. You can play on the original '60s
awesome.
bridge.
Yeah.
And in the actual like main game where you're playing on like sort of the somewhat more modern bridge or whatever, that's designed to be a little more intuitive in terms of the UI and stuff. Everything is sort of at your fingertips, but on the classic
be way more Space Team, right?
You can pick up there are a couple of buttons that are just classic 60s like chunky sci-fi 60s buttons on your armrest, but then over here there's just a little like big blocky tablet that you have to pick up with your hand and hold in front of you and use
and punch the buttons with your other move controller.
Yeah, and it looks really good. I mean, everything about it looks really, really good. And I think that game actually might be good, but I haven't played enough of it to actually know.
Sure.
Yeah.
It was too real.
Yeah. No, I had to get out of there. Back to
God, that's amazing.
Back to real life. Yeah. Anyway,
should we do some email?
Yeah.
I printed out a bunch, but we're probably only going to have time for a couple, so I'll just pick some sort of arbitrarily, I guess. So Mike writes, Hi, Thumbs. My fiance and I are moving from New York to Seattle this summer. We're taking a train trip and visiting cities along the way. I'm curious if you have any recommendations for games in any form we can play for a days-long trip. I bought a Switch and Mario Kart, but besides that, I have no idea what we can play. Thanks, Mike from Brooklyn. So right off the bat, I'm not sure if he means games that they can play together, because he mentions Mario Kart, or do you just mean any game that you can play while traveling that is well suited to travel? So I guess we could maybe take a stab at both.
Yeah.
I mean, only because it's the thing that I've actually played the most of in recent weeks. This is definitely single player only. But the iOS games, A Dark Room and The Ensign, the latter of which, The Ensign is a prequel to A Dark Room and should not be played until you've completed A Dark Room. But I got really into it as well. I don't want to really spoil what A Dark Room is, but because part of the point of that game is discovering what it is. I actually recommended that game on our other podcast, Important If True, recently. It's only 99 cents on iOS, and I believe it's on Android as well. And it's a web game originally, but I believe the different versions are slightly different. Anyway, A Dark Room and The Ensign. The Ensign is a much more traditional game than A Dark Room is. The Ensign is like basically a super hardcore roguelike. It's permadeath.
Oh, crazy.
And I demolished that game. I played many hours of it and completed it under brutal circumstances. Both of these games offer sort of like optional kind of things to try to make them harder for yourself.
Yeah.
And in both cases, I completed them under just like the most brutal conditions because I got so into them. So A Dark Room and The Ensign I would recommend as sort of individual games to help while away the time. Also, since you have, I'll just say one other recommendation, and then if you guys have anything. Since you have a Switch anyway, I would recommend, what is that scissors game for
Snipperclips?
Switch? Snipperclips, yeah.
Yeah.
That is I've played a few hours of this on friends' Switches. This is a fun multiplayer game. It goes from 1 to 4 players, I think.
I think that is correct.
Yeah, and it's a fun both cooperative and competitive game with different modes where you sort of it's based around either again collaboratively or competitively creating like matched shapes by snipping away bits of solids on the screens, and it's
your character can like whatever shape your character is, you can cut that shape out of another player or objects in the world.
Yeah, and you do this to achieve a goal by creating a shape that matches like the intended outline.
Right, like if your characters both start off as sort of like U-shaped things and your objective is to carry a ball from one side of the screen to the other, you can sort of jump on top of the other character and sort of use the bowl of your, like the base of your U-shape to cut a bowl into the head of the other character, which means that when the ball drops, they can walk it from one side of the screen to the other and then shoot it into the basketball hoop.
Yep.
And that sort of thing. It's like
fun.
It feels like an indie game of a style that we don't get that many of anymore. Like it feels like it's
World of Goo era.
Yeah, like Xbox
game.
Live Arcade vintage, but it's really clean and like it's really fun to play on the tiny Switch controllers. The aesthetic of it fits really well.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. You guys have any suggestions here?
My go-to road trip game used to be an iOS game called Tiny Games that was just a ton
Never even heard of that.
It was a Kickstarter game in 2013, and it was just a gallery of the tiniest social games. I don't think it's even available for sale anymore. I think the company went out of business, which is really disappointing. But
bad.
it was, if you still have that on your phone, you know that it's good. Like it was the exact thing that I want, where it would say, are you in a living room in a road trip? Are you just like with a bunch of friends out in a park?
Nice.
How many of you are there? And then it will ask you questions like, do you have food around? Or like, are you willing to divulge personal information or not? And then after you got through those questions, it would give you like, here's a little social game that you can play that's fun in a car if there's only 2 people and you don't have anything to drink or whatever.
Yeah.
And it had a bunch of guest games by like the guys who made Sports Friends and a lot of indie developers. And I think they just didn't make enough money to maintain it, so it went away. So that's my lamentation for the good road trip game that is gone now.
Yeah.
So that was worthless. Sorry.
I just usually my go-to lately is just the mobile version of Carcassonne, which
that's cool.
It has Bluetooth connectivity, so you don't have to be on Wi-Fi to play with people next to you.
Nice.
Yep.
Is there a You Don't Know Jack game available for a mobile anything?
Don't know.
I don't know how that stuff works anymore. All the stuff that I see from those guys at this point is the Jackbox Party Pack, which seems to need a primary device, and then everyone else logs in on their phone, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The Jackbox Party Pack stuff, those guys have... It seemed like they didn't have a strong footing early on for things that weren't You Don't Know Jack, but the farther into that stuff they've gone, the more... Like, have you played the one where your objective is to design a T-shirt? It's really stupid and good. Anyway,
no.
I haven't played enough of it to say enough good things about it, but the range of those games, they seem to have found a good niche in there.
Yeah.
It's fun, but I haven't played enough of any of them to actually say anything worthwhile beyond that. Hi. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Jake.
I'm going to talk about games you can't buy and games I haven't played enough of. Welcome to Idle Thumbs.
Since you mentioned having a Switch anyway, I would say, I mean, we talked about Zelda to death on this
You're
podcast.
Just play Zelda.
But I mean, no, I think Zelda is a really good kind of one person watching, one person playing game.
It is just because it's huge and incredibly sort of readable and a good game to sort of formulate plans and sort of destinations.
And you can always go off path if someone sees something sort of enticing. There's so many different ways to do things. It's huge, so there's lots of just like side content and stuff to encounter. Yep. As opposed to one person kind of single-mindedly like playing through a constricted narrative. I think that game is a great kind of over the shoulder experience because I having been on both sides of it. My like watching my wife play and her watching me play. It's really fun. So I'd recommend that as well.
Yep.
Let's see. Patrick says, "Hey Thumbs, I recently checked out the most played games on Chris Remo's Steam profile. Most are no surprise to anyone who's listened to the show, but his 6th most played game, clocked in at 85 hours, is Unreal Tournament 3 Black Edition. When was Chris Remo into Unreal Tournament 3? He's talked about the early days of the Quake 3 and Unreal Tournament rivalry, but I've never heard him speak about the period in his life when he was ultra killing on a daily basis. Love, Patrick."
I saw this email and was also wondering, when did you clock 80 hours of UT3?
85 hours, Jake?
Sorry.
I don't remember. I mean, I guess the answer is going to be the year that game came out, right? I mean,
did you like review it for Shack News or something? Maybe
I can't imagine that I did. No, it came out in 2007.
Is there a chance that was that Unreal Tournament and the tool set were registered under the same name? Because I know there was a time in the mid 2000s when you were also teaching yourself the basics of the Unreal toolkit when you were in San Francisco.
Yeah, that's true.
But I hope
that's
that
probably,
actually that you were poning fools.
Well, I know I did. I mean, you're probably right that was part of it. But I do definitely remember that I played a lot of Unreal Tournament 3. I mean, it was just like, so it came out in late 2007, and I probably played it from late 2007 through like a decent amount of 2008, and that would have been before we started Idle Thumbs. We started Idle Thumbs later in 2008, so probably by the time we did the first episode of Idle Thumbs, I had probably already
you'd spent a year getting yourself hyped up to do a gamers podcast by playing Unreal Tournament 3.
Yeah, by multi-killing. I think I just really wanted. I just sort of missed that kind of...
Sometimes you just get the hunger for one of those games. I mean, now that Overwatch is just out in the world, there's always one to easily go to, it seems like. But
yeah, that's true. It's still a little bit different.
It is.
Unreal Tournament is that kind of just like... It's just a model that isn't really in vogue in multiplayer games these days. It hasn't been for a while, which is the super fast but also really simple kind of attitude to multiplayer.
There's a new Quake arena game out that I think it's been getting pretty mixed reviews. I mean, I didn't look at it, but I know what you mean. Like that's just not it.
Well, there's no like classes or anything like that. It's just you run around and
just
pick up guns and I don't even know that I would necessarily be into it now. But
Nick's going to tell you a fact.
But I can remember loving it.
The first episode of this episode, just to end this podcast in the same way that we began it, the first episode of the Shack News Shackcast, you talked about Unreal Tournament 3.
Oh, man, of course I did.
Yes.
So,
yeah. When was that? Confirmed. Do you find a date on that?
Yeah, because you posted about it on NeoGAF, of course. July 21st, 2007.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So,
the Shack News podcast, I think all those episodes are lost to time. I mean,
sure
maybe for good reason, but that was, you guys were both on that, and the theme song to it, the lyrics were Shack News Podcast, we talk about video games.
Shack News Shackcast.
Shack News Shackcast, we talk about video games as sung by you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I still remember the melody of that, which is weird.
Yeah, so do I.
I don't remember anything else about doing that podcast.
Talked about video games. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It was really ridiculous to me when Idle Thumbs started, and it was you two, and I basically replaced Martin Goldstein. And
slash Chris Failer.
Slash Chris Failer. Yeah. And the theme song to the new one was Idle Thumbs Video Games. Yeah. Like, it was just fewer words and one fewer host, but basically it started off in a surprisingly similar spot.
Yeah.
And since then we've just, really honed in on that Unreal Tournament content. That's what we're known for these days.
Yeah, I do remember playing a lot of that game. Yeah. Oof. Let's see. I wonder if we can do one more.
Yeah, let's sneak one more email in before we leave this room and go to work.
This is a long email, but I think it's interesting and it doesn't really require much response. So
that's the kind of email I like.
Well, I think it's a cool history. So Ian says, Hey Thumbs, in episode 306, Untitled Thumbs 306, you brought up the history of Let's Plays. I happen to know a bit about this. Let's Plays started out on the Something Awful forum in a format most folks might consider unrecognizable today, screenshots. People would play through the games, almost always on an emulator, document it with screenshots, and make observation about the game in between those screenshots, sometimes while accepting input from the thread they started. Things like character names or branching decisions made great fodder for forum input. Because the LPer was simply taking screenshots, this could be done easily without editing or planning. Because games naturally led themselves to video, LPers started using limited screen recording software to record moments of the game, interspersing the screenshots with these videos, usually hosted on someone's random server or a file upload site and linked from there. This was pre-YouTube. Even when YouTube started, it wasn't a common video host choice. Back then, the major game publishers didn't really recognize this as fair use, and there were significant limits on video length.
YouTube quality also sucked when it first showed up.
Yeah. Because the service was so much smaller, it was easier for these companies to police the uploads and get these videos taken down. Alternative video services, many of which no longer exist, popped up around the same time, and many were lower visibility to copyright holders, so LPers started using those. Man, isn't it weird when you find a YouTube video that's still only 240p?
Yes.
Because it was uploaded when that's just what YouTube was. Anyway. He continues, because it was getting easier to host video online, some Let's Players started experimenting with video as the dominant format. Some used video editing software to superimpose text over their generally unedited playthroughs, and some started speaking over the game. As people figured out what worked and what didn't, should they talk about themselves, make jokes, talk about the game itself, how it was made, the format grew to become the primary format for all LPs. Eventually, publishers began to accept LPs as fair use, and people started uploading their old ones to YouTube. For some, it became easier to use YouTube as the home for their LPs rather than this one internet forum that has a membership fee, and eventually people who had watched old LPs but had never been on Something Awful started making their own, and they grew into what we know today. A number of pre-YouTube LPs were nearly lost when alternative services collapsed, but were actually saved in an Internet Archive collection. And as it turns out, some of the LPers who started before they came to YouTube are still around now, making LPs and sometimes streaming. Slow Beef is a great example of this. Some of my favorite LPers are a pair who started back in the old days, Chip and Ironicus. If any readers feel like watching a good LP, I recommend their playthrough of The Wonderful 101, a Wii U game by Platinum Games, makers of Bayonetta and Metal Gear Rising, that plays like a mashup of Pikmin and a character action game like Bayonetta or Metal Gear Rising. It's a ridiculous game that goes in ridiculous directions both mechanically and in story-wise. Chip is very good at it and makes it entertaining to watch, cutting in explanations and demonstrations of mechanics to show what's interesting about them. You might like it. That's enough of me blathering on about Let's Plays. Hope y'all are having a good day. TLDR, Let's Plays are pretty old, and I kind of love them. Best, Ian.
Yeah, I remember the Something Awful version of this stuff.
My memory of... I was never a huge participant in the Something Awful forums other than threads about, like, games that I worked on, and occasionally very specific games that I was interested in, but I definitely remember the turning point when Let's Play threads got so prevalent on there that they choked out the main game discussion and had to get moved into a subthread, and that was like probably when video Let's Plays were on the rise. But I remember being sort of thankful as Let's Plays blew up that I was there for the moment when they choked out the Something Awful gaming forum, because it made me really early on go, oh, this is a thing that is real. Like, this is a content that is really interesting, and it was just like on the cusp of that stuff going bananas on YouTube.
You still today, like, I think the sort of rise of like Imgur and just easy like photo uploading has allowed people to actually kind of go back to that, because you'll get those sort of like 20
the story albums,
which I actually in some ways prefer, because it sort of edit outs the moments that aren't interesting. I mean, some Let's Players will do that, in video form. But I often like the screenshot.
They're super shareable.
The stories that are good enough and potent enough to rate just being able to be condensed in one little like 20-picture album or just a couple of GIFs are really good.
Yep.
It's sort of a difference between, like, I think at this point you can sort of draw a line between those which are very much about, this is a perfect crystalline moment of game storytelling or something astonishing that happened, versus Let's Plays, which at this point I would say are as much about the personality of the player as they are about the specific game content. Like, you'll watch your favorite Let's Player even if the specifics of what happened in their game are sort of unremarkable because of what they bring to it. Obviously, the perfect storm is when incredible things happen in the game.
There are also Let's Players who are more focused on talking about what's inside of the game than about themselves. But I think you're right that the personality type ones are the big ones.
Yeah, but I mean, even if they're talking about what's in the game, like they're still, it's their version of that, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, to a certain point, I'm sure you can track that back to there being people on the Something Awful forums who, when they said, I'm going to play this game, people were like, oh shit, that's the person who posts the best images and has the best commentary associated in their forum threads, you know?
Yeah, that's true, actually. Those were more, there was a lot more like writing in those.
Yeah.
Whereas the Imager version is usually like fairly unadorned images. So you'll find
there's captions. You'll get captions.
Sometimes you get captions.
It's different though. I mean, the old thread-based Let's Plays, it's similar to like there are people on NeoGAF and Something Awful who just make good official topic first posts. Like when they put they're all into just curating really good images and good headers, and the information is laid out really well as opposed to the sloppier ones. And I think the forum-based Let's Plays share a lot more in common with that sort of like, are you a person who makes a really well-guided first post or not?
Yep, I think it's true. Cool. Well, I guess that's that.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us on Idle Thumbs. You can find our website at idlethumbspodcast.com, which has links to all of the places we can be found on the internet. And you can send us email about video games to questions@idlethumbs.net. Sorry, I meant to read more email, and then we ended up talking more about other stuff than I expected. But please do continue to send your email to questions@idlethumbs.net, and we will hopefully read it next time.
Patreon stuff also.
Oh yeah, if you would like to back us on Patreon and get an ad-free version of our weekly comedy show, Important If True, you can do that at patreon.com/idlethumbs, where you can also get monthly postcards sent to your house that are telling an increasingly branching and increasingly ridiculous story written by Nick Brecken that I am really enjoying. And if you've missed out on those, there is a tier you can pledge to have a complete story sent to you.
You'll get your own personalized story thread. The story is branching, and you are sent one consistent branch of this narrative, but if you go and talk to other people who are Patreon backers, you can collectively sort of feel out the complete scope of this universe. The fronts of the postcards all line up consistently for you. You're getting the complete front side.
Yeah.
The other thing is, as you've probably noticed on this feed, in between our monthly Idle Thumbs episodes, we're putting out a sort of free-form Q&A episode, and if you back at a certain tier, you can force us to answer questions that drop into those episodes as well.
That's true, yeah.
The Ruination Online Live.
Yeah, unlike Reader Mail, we don't run
We have to answer all those.
Anyway, that's at patreon.com/idlethumbs. So that's it for us on this episode. We'll be back next month with another episode of Idle Thumbs, and before that on this feed, the next Ruination will show up. See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Someone in Twitch linked to some stuff at lparchive.org, and we should probably actually link that in the discussed list as just like...
Check out lparchive.org, as pointed out by a reader, containing classic Let's Plays.
Oh, I'm not local recording anymore. Eat shit.
It's still in there.
Oh, that's true. Don't eat shit. It won't be in the video version. Bye, Twitch. Hi, Twitch. Thanks for listening to this stream. Thanks for listening to the stream. Kotaku said this morning that adventure games are dead. I don't know if you guys knew. If you guys heard the news.
Hold on, you can wait on that.
It's boring.
Okay.
It's fucking boring.